That's what it makes sense to me. Now, of course, you just don't take any hadith. The Sunnis have large classic hadith books too. One of them is Al-Kafi. Now, one criticism is that Al-Kafi has bad hadith in it. The Shia scholars agree that that's an unchecked hadith collection. Okay, but there are hadith collection that came afterward where the hadith have been checked. They came out of Al-Kafi, and they were good hadith that were there. The way that the Shias look at the hadith, the way they evaluate hadith is, first, does it line up with the Quran? Second, is it from a reliable source? Is it from a person who is a true believer? And that's why it's usually the 12 imams and their closest followers. Okay, but that's not enough. Okay, just saying, well, Imam Ali, peace be upon him, said this, that doesn't make it true. There may have been a corruption in the transmission of the hadith. The third way, the third, is to look for reasonableness. Okay, does it line up with the Quran? Is it from true believers? And is it reasonable? Okay, to me that makes quite a bit of sense. Especially when I look at some of the forms of Islam that I see in the modern day. They don't like to be called Wahhabis, but that's one of the terms. Salafis, although some of the Salafis I've met are more reasonable than others. I really think that the way that Shia Muslims approach Islam, to me, makes more sense. The basic principles are always there, but as things go on in history, it's not frozen. Not the basic principles, but other elements can change with time to meet the needs of the time, and I think that that's the way it has been always in the past. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent prophets to various people. The messages were essentially the same message, but there were little differences because of that time and place. Okay, and so it seems more reasonable. It seems like a system a perfect God would put into place. Okay, and so I'm going to wrap up now. Again, we talked about the problems in the Hadith science. We talked about the problems in the succession after the Prophet's demise, peace be upon him, and we talked about the justice of God, and we also talked about the family of Abraham, the family of Imran, family of Ishmael, family of Muhammad. Okay, and I know that just before I became a Muslim and just after I became a Muslim, because I became Shia, there were a lot of criticisms. Some of them I didn't understand. Some of them were outright lies, but I don't think it's the person's fault. I think they heard this or were conditioned to think this way, and those things actually made me think about a problem in modern Islam, and it's even in some sectors of Shia Islam, is there's a lot of ignorance, and there's a lot of lies that have been told, and I think from my point of view as a Christian who became a Muslim, I wanted to look at everything. I wanted to check everything out. I wanted to make sure that the claims being made to me were true, and so I looked at the Sunnis. I was initially attracted to Sufis, and most of the Sufis that I read about were Sunnis. So, of course, I want to read about them. I wanted to read about Al-Ghazali and some of the others. And but in the end, I really believe that what I've seen in 12 verse Shia Islam is the true Islam, lines up very well with the Quran and lines up very well with history. And so I'll end my talk by saying, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Assalamu alaikum.